This is the Energy Makers Show, featuring the innovators, financiers, and policymakers focused on the global energy demand. Brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And here's your host, Russ Capper.
Hi, I'm Russ Capper, and welcome to episode number 105 of the Energy Makers Show. For this episode, we go underwater and we go to school. First up, we visit the Wolff Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Houston, and we visit with Dr. Matthew Franchek, the founding director of Subsea Engineering at the University of Houston, to discuss underwater cities, the autonomous vehicles that maintain these cities, and the curriculum at the University of Houston that prepares engineers for this fascinating space. Up next, also from the University of Houston, we visit with Dr. Ramanan Krishnamoorti, the Chief Energy Officer of the university, to discuss how a modern, make-it-happen major university is aimed at becoming the one-stop shop strategic partner with the entire energy industry. All of that right after this.
At BKD, we understand the constantly shifting nature of the energy industry. As a national CPA and advisory firm, we serve energy clients from the beginning to the end of the cycle. Our experienced energy advisors serve approximately 300 energy companies in exploration, midstream, downstream, oilfield services, and power production. Plus, we're the largest North American member of the Praxity Global Alliance, which means we can help you wherever you operate. Contact a BKD advisor or visit us online to learn more.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Russ Capper.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show, coming to you today from the Wolff Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Houston. And my guest is Dr. Matthew Franchek, the founding director of Subsea Engineering in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Matt, welcome to the Energy Makers Show.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, and welcome to University of Houston.
You bet. It's great to be here. Tell us about Subsea Engineering.
Okay, so Subsea Engineering, not many people have heard of it, but a lot of people are doing it. It's everything that goes from the water surface all the way down to the mud line where the wellhead is, all the equipment, the operation, the maintenance, the design, the installation, everything is called Subsea Engineering at that point.
Okay, now, is the requirement for this happening now because of what we always hear about in the energy space, that the experts are at retirement age, or is there a lot of new technology happening subsea?
A lot of things have come here at once, actually, to make subsea happen. One has been that the oil and gas reserves are available. They've become economically feasible, given by the market forces. And the technology, the knowledge base is actually coming at the same time to make it a possibility, so that it's not only probable to get it up, but it can be safely performed as well to get the oil and gas back up in a cost-effective, safe manner.
Okay, so what triggered the idea to start a subsea engineering movement out here at the University of Houston?
It was a tremendous exercise in hindsight. What we did was we went out and we talked with the oil and gas companies, seeking a way that University of Houston can continue to make an economic impact in the state of Texas and Houston. And the number one residing issue was subsea engineering. They spoke, we listened, and we collaborated and put the first only program in the United States in place.
That's real interesting that that was on the top of their list. So what qualified for you? Are you an ex-scuba diver or something?
Well, I'm a current scuba diver, but only at 120 feet.
Okay.
The best water that we're talking about is 2 miles deep. And really nothing qualified me to do it, which probably that lack of inhibition, right, allowed me to run forward with this. But what we did was we faced a pretty significant challenge. There's, if I understand the numbers correctly, about 10,000 subsea engineers are needed nowadays. And the market's only going to get larger because that's where a lot of the reserves are. We have a curriculum we'd like to put in place. There are really not faculty members that are available to teach it because subsea is almost like a current event engineering type of curriculum. It's just being made and discovered almost every day as you go out to new reservoirs that are out there in deeper water. So there were no textbooks, no faculty, only an ambition. And so what we did was we turned to our co-location strength here at the University of Houston with the oil and gas companies. We found what we thought were charismatic individuals that either invented an area or led it in subsea engineering, and we gave them the usual talk of it's time to give back. And they came to our classrooms, and now they're educating our students.
Very interesting. And your background is mechanical engineering, right?
That's right. I'm a mechanical engineer in what we call intelligent systems.
Okay. Now, the program itself is a graduate level program, though, right?
Right. The subsea engineering really is a very complex field, and it requires some fundamental strengths that you would get from an undergraduate curriculum in an engineering degree. And so from accredited college, this is the type of program that will give you the background to come in. But the ability to pull together many disciplines, we call it multi-scale, meaning that it could be at the atom scale as well as the global scale. We call it multidisciplinary because it's electrical, mechanical, thermal, fluid, chemical type of engineering, and multi-physics, meaning that you've had a lot of things that you have to mathematically put together so you can predict what these systems will look like and perform like before they're ever built. They're very costly, and you have to know well in advance, will this particular design for this particular subsea application work before these companies invest $300 million, $400 million into this subsea city.
Well, I've always been impressed with the technology in the energy space. This is sounds like over the top or under the bottom, whatever applies. But,
Right.
but did I hear you right? You had to show up. You have to have an undergraduate engineering degree.
You have to have an undergraduate engineering degree. There are special exemptions, but it's going to be mostly based on your work experience than it would be the degree at that time. But it is a mathematical-driven curriculum. It does advance the sciences of engineering, but more importantly, it takes these sciences of engineering that are traditionally taught and it transforms them into best design practices. And these best design practices are what our curriculum offers our students. And it involves things like the API specifications, so it means you're meeting the government regulations as well as what the designs are and best practices to make sure that you're ensuring the safety of the environment from which you're producing the oil and gas from.
Wow. And if you successfully go through it, you come out with a master's degree, right?
Come out with a Master of Science in Subsea Engineering.
Okay. So how old is the program?
Well, we just started this fall.
Okay.
Previous to this, we started off with a graduate certificate course, so you could take the same courses, but we'd offer a graduate certificate. We're the only ones in the United States, and we're the broadest program right now in the entire world.
How many students are in the program today?
We have 181 students populating all our classes.
Wow. So it really is a fascinating part of the world and part of the future for sure. You already sort of mentioned subsea cities
Right.
and stuff. Tell us about some of the futuristic things that at least get talked about.
So it will be exciting from an engineering point of view, these next generation subsea systems, but it'll be very anticlimactic for those of us that are actually on the surface of the water. When you look out across the Gulf of Mexico, you will see nothing. Wow. Zero. No derrick standing up. The only time that you'll see something is maybe when a drilling operation occurs. But after that, these are basically cities that will operate on their own, and they'll produce the oil and gas safely. They'll notify personnel onshore as well as offshore what the health of the city is operating, if there are any needs or maintenances that are going to occur. And it's going to drive that oil and gas cost effectively all the way back to what's called the tieback, which is the point in time that it can be carried off and taken to a refinery. All you'll see is the top of the water.
Now, do we have some of that going on today?
A lot of it is going on today. As a matter of fact, the only thing that you'll see above the water now is what's called an FPSO. So it's basically a ship where you'll pipe up the oil and gas, and it does all the processing at that location, putting the cleansed water back into the Gulf. All that's going to happen subsea now. So all you have is just pure gas coming from one pipeline or one tieback and oil coming from another.
Wow. Now, you mentioned government regulations a while ago. I would imagine safety is still a huge issue. There won't be as many human beings involved, but
Right.
but if you have a disaster, it's still a disaster, right? I mean,
That's
even though you
correct.
don't have an explosion coming up above the surface of the water, it could be pretty bad.
You have to really rethink the entire subsea operation at this point in time. So one of the enabling technologies that we were discussing earlier was the prognostics feature. If I can anticipate all problems in advance and be proactive in it, that's going to make the city operate safer. And I'm speaking of the subsea operation city. So a lot of the new technologies that have come into place have been based on model-based prognostics and model-based diagnostics. The mathematical models and these virtual models operating in subspace or a virtual space will allow you to almost scuba dive down to these cities, look at things that are happening and see it in a very interactive manner. And you can assess things very quickly by getting quick advice from the software that's running, telling you this is a problem area, I think you should look at it, or I'm going to need a shutdown at this point in time to actually get a cleaning out of the pipelines or pigging or regular maintenance. So you really have a man-machine interface coming quite close together, where there's an interaction between the two to look at the overall operations and, most importantly, the safety of a subsea operation.
Will there ever be instances where a human would go down in a submarine to do work or to observe something?
This is the exciting part about it as well. So when we talk about the city happening, we're really talking about all autonomous operations, meaning that there's no human intervention needed.
Wow.
When you go 2 miles below the ocean surface, you're not going to get somebody to go down that deep. It's just the pressures are 5,000 PSI and it's just crushing. So we're looking now at developing autonomously operated robotic vehicles that swim as well as remotely operated vehicles. And these have certain tasks and functions. A lot of this technology has not only been invented for subsea, but it's borrowing knowledge bases, let's say from robotic surgery. So very articulated type of tasks that you might need a human to do now will be replaced by robots who have the capability on their own to perform these tasks and basic maintenance. And when they're done with their tasks, they go back and plug in. But you can imagine there's going to essentially be robots that also patrol the area to see if they can sniff out leaks, look at the environment's doing, what the water quality look like. Constant maintenance and a beehive of activity 24/7, continuous.
Wow. I suppose you get to interact with some of the commercial companies that are developing this technology.
So far, I've met over 200 companies that I've talked with in the Houston area and developing the subsea engineering program. And the technology and the excitement I have not experienced in my 20-plus years as a faculty member. This is an extremely exciting time to innovate and to practice and to do something very worthwhile, which is develop energy for the 21st century, but also do it in such a safe manner that there are zero problems in the future.
That is so cool. Well, I really appreciate you sharing this with us, Matt.
It's been a real pleasure to be here. Come back and visit us again and meet some of our students the next time you come back.
We'll be glad to do that.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And that wraps up my discussion with Dr. Matthew Franchek, the founding director of Subsea Engineering in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Houston. We'll be back with more right after this. Hi, I'm Russ Capper, and this is Drilling Bits, brought to you by Sickage. I'm joined by Greg Price, the author of Drilling Bits and partner with Sickage. Greg, welcome to your show once again.
Thanks, Russ. It's a joy to be here again to talk about the oil patch.
All right, and what kind of oil patch problem are we going to solve today?
Well, one of the things that we see a lot of, Russ, is the fact that a lot of our customers have difficulty getting a total picture of their costs for the jobs that they work in the field. And I'll give you a couple examples. If you're a pipe distributor or you work in that business, you have to move that pipe fairly quickly because things are really happening fast. But a lot of times customers will ask you to maybe thread the pipe, heat treat it, put some couplings on it. So a lot of times you're either performing that cost in-house or maybe you're outsourcing it to a third party to get it done quickly. The problem is that the material has been sent, delivered, and installed at the well site long before the costs all accumulate in your system.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. So what happens sometimes is you don't have a complete picture on what the total cost was as it pertains to that particular order, and as such, your profitability might be skewed just a little bit. It's okay to take care of your great number one customers, but it's probably a little bit more important to understand how much those customers actually cost you to do business with.
Absolutely. I can understand that one clearly.
Very good.
Sounds important.
It is, very much so, and it's one that we see a lot of these days.
Okay. All right, and that wraps up this edition of the Drilling Bits, brought to you by Sickage. Thanks for tuning in.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Russ Capper.
Welcome back to the Energy Maker Show. My guest now, Dr. Ramanan Krishnamoorti, the Chief Energy Officer at the University of Houston, who also happens to be a professor of chemical and biomolecular engineering, as well as a professor of petroleum engineering and chemistry. Ramanan, welcome to the Energy Maker Show.
Great to be here, Russ. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Well, let's start at the top. Tell us about the Energy Initiative here at the University of Houston.
UH has been in the city that is the world's capital of energy.
Right.
And we've not had a strategic focus on energy. The whole idea of the Energy Initiative is to ensure that energy is a strategic focus of the university. What does that mean, right? That means that our education, our training of our students, our research, and technology incubation are focused on energy. And that's going to be one of the pillars on which the university builds its success.
Okay, and I assume that probably includes integrating with some of the incredible expertise in the commercial energy world here in Houston.
Absolutely. So we want to become a strategic partner for the commercial world so that they come to the University of Houston and say, this is a one-stop shop where we can do our human resource development, our research development, and we come in and pick up early scale technologies that they can integrate into the energy business.
Okay, and how long has this initiative been off the ground?
So this initiative started when Renew came to the University of Houston. This came about 5 years ago. When she came here, she said, we're going to try and make this a focus. She started off, she got an energy advisory board together, really outstanding individuals from the greater Houston area who wanted to see the university really establish a portfolio in energy.
Right.
We went on with starts and stops for about 4 years, and until about February, when Renew said, can you come and help sort of get this off the ground? And really moving at a pace where we're not going to be defined by academic timescales, but more by commercial timescales.
Whoa, okay. So, a little pressure there.
A little bit of pressure, absolutely.
Did you have the option to turn it down? Or
I was also told failure is not an option.
All right.
So we came with a very clear indication of what we needed.
Well, and I don't know, this must have a lot to do with Renew, but I see that throughout the university now, the need to integrate with the outside world and to do it successfully in the business category, and that's exciting.
Absolutely. This is a great time to be at the University of Houston. I've been here 17 years, and I've never seen it like this. Okay. We've got our eyes focused on what we want to do. We put our students first. Then we say, what are the things that are going to make a difference? We're going to make a difference in energy, health, and in the arts. Okay.
So have you been at the helm of this ship long enough to already feel some success?
We're starting to see some successes. Okay. We're starting to become relevant. You probably have heard of a few things that we've done. Mm-hmm. We've got our energy and sustainability minor program that's coming through. Has got 75 students in it. Okay. Growing rapidly through the Honors College. Okay. We've got the nation's first and only Subsea Engineering program. We started off with a certificate that started a few years back. Right. Now we have a master's program.
Right. That's led by Dr. Franchek.
Dr. Franchek, outstanding leader. Just absolutely terrific to have him on board. Right. But we've now taken it to where it's the only master's program in the country. Wow. But it's going to go online completely starting in spring. So this will be something where we can have a global presence and deliver this program to every part of the world in a manner that keeps up with the standards in the U.S.
All right, impressive. Meaning somebody can get a master's degree taking most or all of the course online?
All of the courses online. Okay. Wow. That's the goal. So we don't necessarily think that that's the best way to do it. We're not looking for massively open online courses in this. But if there is a need, the students have the ability to do it that way.
Great.
So, and again, tomorrow we have our first of our energy symposium series. We have one on critical issues in energy, and the topic tomorrow is on hydraulic fracturing and sustainability. So we're picking hot button issues. We're trying to get the city and the commercial parts of the city to take notice as to the fact that we're serious about what we're doing.
Okay. And then what is this thing, the Energy Resource Center? What is that?
So the Energy Research Park, which is adjacent to the main campus, was acquired about 4 years ago. Okay. It used to be the headquarters of Schlumberger. Okay. Many moons ago, 60 years ago, it became the headquarters of Schlumberger, and it became available. It's a 75-acre plot of land with lots of old buildings that Schlumberger used to have as part of their ability to make logging tools and logging trucks, and it became available to us, and we're starting to grow there. And we're starting to put some of our academic programs there, some of our research programs there. And most importantly, we're trying to incubate some new technologies there. You probably have heard of this new nanotechnology that has been front and center, where one of our faculty members has devised a superhydrophobic material. So this is something that can repel water, pollen, dust, everything. The original idea was we'll put it on top of solar cells, so that you could make them to be as absorbent as they were on the day you made them, and dust and rain had no effect. But now that material is now being used in all kinds of applications, including potentially replacing things like Scotchgard. And those are the kinds of technologies we want to foster and grow within the university.
Tell me, what is the best case scenario, in your opinion, of what the energy initiative here will look like, say, 5 years from now?
5 years from now,
right.
if we are successful in what we're doing, all 40,000 students graduating from the university would be aware of energy, would be well aware of what it takes to make energy and how we consume them, how we consume energy, and how we can sustain it over long periods of time. That would be fantastic if we can do it.
Well, Ramanan, I think that's real impressive that you're kind of taking it across the whole student body. I, for one, think that energy is so critical to the economy and everything about life in the future. I've noticed that out here at the University of Houston and other categories too, over at the Wolff Center, that you share that expertise broadly, and I congratulate you. It's quite a challenge, though, isn't it?
It is an enormous challenge.
Yeah.
Right now, we have about 12,000 students across the university, across 7 colleges, the business school, the law school, architecture, liberal arts and social sciences, the sciences, technology and engineering, who are in some way related to the energy business, to the energy industry. We think the only way we can make a sustained and a marked difference in the economy and in the city of Houston is if every single graduate that comes out of University of Houston knows something about energy and is well versed with it and can talk about it intelligently.
Wow, meaning that there will be some sort of basic required curriculum in the category.
We're looking into all of these different issues, how best to integrate it into the curriculum. We want it to be seamless. We don't want this to be a place where somebody comes and say, oh, I'm going to take the energy course. No, we want it to become a part of the fabric of our education across the board. And so that's really our ambition. We will get there in some way or form, because we think it's a really important issue as far as Houston is concerned, the economy is concerned. But in a more tangible sort of way, I would love to see every single multinational company that works in the Houston area, whether it's in the hydrocarbon resource or transmission or in the natural gas space or in alternatives, come and be a part of the University of Houston system and be a place where they come to the university and partake of the research that we do, of the technology we grow, and really be partners in the growth of the city. And I think that's really where we want to have an impact, is we want to be the integral part of the growth of the city and the growth of the energy capital of the world.
All right. Well, Ramanan, I love the ambition. It sounds really cool, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much, Russ. Really, and we hope that we are wrong about this and that we can actually achieve our successes in 3 years rather than 5.
Fantastic. Okay. And that wraps up my discussion with Dr. Ramanan Krishnamoorti, the Chief Energy Officer at the University of Houston. And that concludes this episode of the Energy Makers Show, heard on the radio and seen right here at TheEnergyMakers.com.